King Crimson is easily one of the best looking stands to date, in my personal opinion, at least of what I have seen. To the whole double face, to the color scheme, just King Crimson is just such a good design. It really, it's up there with Killer Queen. Like, Killer Queen's design, like Kira's stand ability in Part 4, had a really funny design way, the way it looked like a cat. But just the menacing aspect of it, the way it could be a shadow or whatever, is what really made Killer Queen so cool. But King Crimson is just such an interesting design with the two double faces, like the little baby head and all that, to the colors, to the way the stand works with time. I love it. And I think many can agree with me while watching this episode that this was easily one of the best ways to really represent what King Crimson can actually do. So, besides just saying it just works, let's actually talk about how King Crimson works, or at least from what you can get from this episode. So to kind of explain it in the simplest way possible, gamer terms actually, if you all have ever played an online game, for instance, let's say you played a Battle Royale game to a first-person shooter, third-person shooter, RPG, whatever, if you've ever played a video game online, I think one point or another, regardless of how good your internet is, because it could also be related to server-related issues, usually everyone experiences lag. You have to be the luckiest person in the world not to experience lag. And even me, with the good internet I have, I experience lag every so often. So I think all of us can roughly say if you played a game, you had lag. And that's kind of what King Crimson's ability is. It is an ability that causes the entire world to lag within like 5 to 10 seconds. And in that world of lag, King Crimson is able to move around unaffected. So to kind of break it down and make it a little bit more simple, pretty much if you've ever played also an online game, there's a host connection, and then you have the person that joins the host and is underneath his connection. So whatever the host connection is, how the quality of the internet is typically how everybody else is going to fare in, the lobby. But also the host will always have more power than the people underneath them, because host will always get priority. He has the best connection, so if, like, for instance, both of the characters are about to punch each other at the same time, his input would probably go first compared to the person underneath him that joined the lobby, because he is the host. He controls the connection. And that's basically what's happening here. King Crimson is the host in a game that's lagging everyone else, but he is unaffected because, obviously, host, and so he can go around throughout time like it's nothing and is able to alter it, while you have people that, are lagging so bad, they can't see what they're doing. They do it, but they can't see what they're doing, and then after like 5 to 10 seconds, they pop back up, like they boop, back up in any random place, and then they could potentially die after that or not. That's basically what happens with King Crimson, to explain it in the easiest way possible, at least for gamers, because that's what happened. Basically, he's unaffected. He completely makes it to where everybody in the given area leaps through time. Time still progresses, but to them, time has stopped. But when it keeps going, it's like they skip forward in time. It's very similar to the world from Dio, and how he's able to say, "The world!" And then, he stops it, and then after like 5 to 10 seconds, he's able to move once again, and time continues to move forward. In that moment, time is completely stopped. But it works very differently in King Crimson's stand ability, because it's able to actually just continue to allow time to move forward, but nobody else is aware of it. Only, King Crimson. So there you go. That's how it works. That's how the stand, at least from what you can get from this episode, of how it is. There's more to it, but that is what I can explain so far that makes it, understandable. But okay, let's talk about Bruno and what happened to him. Bruno, he survived, but in a way, the way he survived raises a lot of questions. It makes you wonder what has happened to him. Is he A-okay? And I'll get into that in a second, but as we know, the last episode ended us off on a brutal cliffhanger. Bruno was turned into a donut, and from everybody's assumption, he probably got cockyoined and he was going to die. I mean, if you even, saw the last week, you're like, holy crap, he's dead already. But he was able to, at the very least, get back up and somewhat fight back against King Crimson before King Crimson did another blow to his shoulders and, severed his collarbone and everything, which is Very brutal, by the way. Like, holy crap, the brutality in this episode pretty, like, surprised me. It was a lot. But, the point is, though, is that Bruno, even while watching this episode, if you're an anime only, you still probably expected the man to die, because with all the wounds he was taking, how he was barely able to even walk up the stairs, and he was barely getting by with sheer resolve/willpower, like, when is this man gonna fall over and die? And when Giorno finally got into the same room as Bruno, and Bruno was just gone, and you saw his stand completely deactivate, it made everybody realize in that moment how he's dead. It's over. He's gone. He fought so hard, and he died right there. It was a very emotional moment. And I think the way David Productions nailed that scene was absolutely spot on. Like, I love the mist effect, because it's something that we have seen constantly in JoJo's since, like, Part 3. And Part 4, we had an introduction to spirits and stuff. We got to see legitimately spirits interacting with people, and that's kind of what happened in this part. You had it to where Bruno, he was actually dead. He did not have any fake out. He was dead. He was legitimately dead. And when you saw the dust coming out, and it was like his spirit, his soul itself just coming out. And when you saw how Giorno was just trying to talk to him, and all of a sudden you see the, Bruno trying to say something as his spirit form, and then you saw Giorno turn around, and then you see Bruno get back up. Basically, in that moment, it was to prove that Bruno was going out of an out-of-body experience. He didn't know what was going on. He could just see himself, and he knew he was dying. And then he literally willed himself back. With sheer willpower and resolve, he got back into his body and forced himself to get back up and survive. Giorno also helped him as well. He got his body kickstarting and all that where he can continue to live, but even then, though, Bruno fought back against death itself to be able to get back up, which is a very alarming moment. You're like, holy crap, this man did not want to die. But then you see at the end, there is obviously some repercussions to whatever has happened to him, which let's get into that. It was pointed out, and it was very apparent towards the end, and when Giorno was analyzing Bruno and his condition, Bruno kind of hunched over, and he acted like he was hurt. He's like, oh, I lack blood and all that. Like, I'm feeling dizzy. And Giorno's like, huh? Why is he feeling like that? I obviously returned all his blood when I, recreated his body parts. Why is he getting dizzy with a lack of blood? And when you see Bruno hit the ground, you see, like, an object go right through his hand, and you see no blood coming out of it. It's completely fine. It's kind of like, in a way, he's a zombie. He lacks blood. And you're left wondering, is he dead already? Like, whatever Giorno did he effectively turn Bruno into a zombie? Like, probably his body doesn't work the same way anymore. It just makes you wonder if that is what Giorno did to him. But that's the thing, though. It's left up in the air. You don't know if it's going to have a repercussion, like to where he's going to die maybe next week. Who really knows? But it's obviously going to have some negative effects because he felt dizzy this episode, but he wasn't bleeding, which either he has such a lack of blood and it went really extreme to show that maybe he just lacks blood, or, he legitimately isn't even considered a human anymore. Who really knows? But okay, let's get into the Trish stuff. So I find it amazing that in this episode, towards the end, the way David Productions just depicted it and showed it, they went well way above the manga, in my personal opinion. And seeing how everybody had to come to a decision to do what they wanted. For instance, will they continue to follow the boss's orders and be a part of the organization, or will they join Bruno and Giorno on their quest to save Trish, protect her, and eventually take down the organization? They had a very critical decision to make, and it was a very big moment, because you would think that maybe all of them would join Bruno, because if this was a typical show, that would have happened, but obviously that was not the case. Fugo stayed behind. He did not go with Bruno's group, which makes you wonder what's going to happen to him. Is he going to, join the boss and help, King Crimson take down them? Is he just going to go, with his life, go on with his life, not do anything to interact with them? Is this the last time we're going to see him? It really just makes you wonder, because he decided not to help them, which means he's technically not a traitor. Or King Crimson, the boss, already thinks he's a traitor, or all of them are traitors, and so he's going to kill Fugo on a spot, and we won't find out till very long into the future. Who really knows? But that was the point there, is that Fugo made a very shocking decision, which caught everybody by surprise, probably. And it showed that Fugo obviously wasn't aware of what Bruno was really about. Bruno, as a person, was always someone that was kind of like, his emotions were there. What he wanted was always there. And I think anyone that joined his party knew that, besides obviously Fugo. Bruno wasn't a bad dude. He may have been a part of an organization that was doing some shady things, but he still was a good dude. He took people in and made them like family. He took care of them. He cared for people. He cared for children. People obviously saw it. His group saw that. And Fugo not noticing that is probably the biggest, like, what? Because how are you not aware of how he was? I mean, how he took you in as well. How can you not be aware? But obviously the reason why Fugo is acting like that is because of his emotions. We know he has emotional problems, so seeing Bruno act like that makes him be reminded of his early self, of how he let emotions control his actions, and he couldn't do anything about it. That's what he was reminded of while looking at Bruno. So he didn't want to turn out like that, and that's why he refused to go with Bruno, was because Bruno was being controlled by his emotions. Which, by the way, I do like how Narancia's scene was done. Narancia, very emotional. Probably one of the most emotional moments, besides Bruno potentially dying. Seeing Narancia look at Trish is like, Trish was abandoned. I was abandoned. And you just see how he makes the correlation to Trish. He's like, I'm Trish. And he tries to rush over to Giorno and Bruno's group. It's sad because it's something that actually happens in real life. Not just the situation that Narancia's kind of been in. I mean, it's obviously extreme because this is, you know, a series that is like shonen. It has a lot of battle power stuff. I'm talking about the situation of you comparing yourself to someone else and what they were going through. It's realistic. And seeing his determination in that moment of wanting to change and chase after Giorno and Bruno, it's something people do. If you're in viewpoint of someone that's very similar to you, and you see it personally, and you're like, holy crap, you know, I don't want this happening again, I don't want to be left behind, or you want to change, something really important happens within inside of you, and you get your, you know, your will and all that moving forward, your resolve, and that's what happened. Narancia, his resolve, he had strong resolve, and he forced through to get back to his group, his family, his friends, and not be left behind. It was great. And like I said, easily one of the best moments of the episode. And I think that's going to make many a big fan of, you know, Narancia, if they already weren't, because of just how he was in the ending of this episode. Which, speaking of the other members, let's talk about Mista. I really love how Mista, he did not want anyone, or he didn't want to be fourth to join the group. Because when you think about it, it was Trish, Giorno, Bruno. So 3 members. So if Mista would have instantly joined, which we knew Mista would have joined just how he is as an individual, but he didn't want to be the first one to join, because if he did, he would have been the 4th member to join, in which we know Mista doesn't like the number 4. It's unlucky. So that's why he joined after, and I'm just like, oh, Mista, stay the same. Always stay the same. Always not liking to be the 4th member to join, or number 4 at all. I love stuff like that, and I just like these little details that Araki adds in for Mista throughout the series that, you know, you could easily miss, but if you really take a moment to look at certain scenes from Mista, you notice that he does this kind of subconsciously. He just doesn't want to join or do certain things because the number 4. But okay, anything else really left to get into? Honestly, I don't think so. I really think I've kind of covered everything. If I have missed anything, you can clarify and let me know in the comments below. But what an episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure this week, and probably my favorite episode so far of Part 5. Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.